confident are you about your family's financial future? Have you discussed inheritance or estate planning with your parents? According to new research by Ameriprise Financial, 52% of Americans say they are confident about their family's financial future, and it may be because of regular family conversations about money, which are not always easy conversations. So joining us to help your own family get the conversation started is Marcy Keckler, Vice President of Financial Advice Strategy at Ameriprise Financial. Welcome, Marcy. So great to see you.
Thank you.
First off, let's start with this survey. How many people did you talk to? What were the age ranges?
We talked to people across generations. We talked to millennials and Gen Xers and baby boomers. We talked to about 2,700 people, and we wanted to understand, how are families talking about money? Are they talking about money, and how's it going? And what we learned is the more they talk, the more confident they feel. About half of families have had conversations about finances, but they tend to focus more on day-to-day finances, and they are likely to steer more clear of the big topics like estate planning and inheritance. Important, but people fear they're going to be sort of awkward conversations.
So were you surprised, though, to see that over half of the respondents felt so confident about their family's finances?
I think it's great news, and I think it tells us having the conversations will help you feel better.
Right.
But we also know that families who said they had those more in-depth topics covered in their conversations, they talked about estate planning, said the conversation wasn't as awkward as they feared. And I think that's the good news for people who maybe have some trepidation about it.
Yes, it can be so emotional and uncomfortable because it has to do with people dying, right?
Absolutely.
Which is not something you necessarily want to discuss with your parents or your family members. So it's easy to understand where the discomfort comes.
Yes.
But there's also, I noticed in your survey, there can sometimes be a difference between expectations and reality. In other words, most people expected to get an inheritance, but they perhaps expected to get more of one than they really were going to get.
Absolutely. So 4 out of 5 of the parents who we talked to said they do intend to leave an inheritance, but only 1 out of 5 have given their adult children a sense of how much to expect. And that is leading, as you said, to these misaligned expectations.
And they tend to be higher than
higher. Yeah, people think they're going to get $100,000 or more. And in reality, the people who've already gotten one said they're getting less than $100,000. So if families don't talk, there can be these misaligned expectations, but if they do talk, they can get the things to line up. Reality and expectations can come together.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get to your tips, because you have some specific tips that are helpful. And the first one is to make sure that reality and expectations match, to just start that conversation, right?
Absolutely. The adult children who we talked to, 9 out of 10, so virtually everybody, said the trigger was some sort of life-changing event in their family, whether that was a change in health condition that required extended care at home or in a nursing home, or even a death in the family. And of course, those are times of stress and tension for families.
So that's not the ideal time to get the conversation
so start
started.
sooner, because if you and your family can tackle the financial pieces in advance, you can reduce some of the stress at those important transition times for families. So get started.
When everything's fine, when everyone's healthy, when everyone's happy, that's when you start having the conversation.
Yes, and I think what's also important is to not just hope that you get around to it, but make a plan, have a schedule. So if you know everyone's going to be together, don't just hope it comes up at dinner, but maybe say, hey, let's talk after dinner on Thursday.
That's a very good idea. So what about an estate plan? What is it exactly, and does every family need one?
Every family needs one, and I think sometimes people think, oh, estate plan is really for very wealthy people. Estate plan is for anyone who owns anything. And really, you want to make sure you have a will. But other important documents that would be included in this package would be a power of attorney that says who's going to make decisions for you if you can't, whether that's about your health care, so that'd be really a health care power of attorney, or a power of attorney to talk about making financial decisions. So you want to really have thought through what your wishes are and who's going to help you make that happen if you're in a spot where you're not able to.
Very, very important, which brings up another important point. There are lots of valuable documents needed for all of this, and sometimes parents put them in places where they know where they are, but you don't know where they are.
Absolutely, and that's really critical, that you tell your family once you've done the work to get your intentions identified and documented, people know where to find those documents. The last thing you want when they're needed is that people are scrambling to find them, because really you do need the originals. That's what you need.
That's good advice.
So you don't want to tuck it away someplace hidden.
And now what about online accounts? That's another one that sometimes people don't think about. Those have passwords that you need to get your hands on.
Absolutely critical, and we know even if you have an estate plan and if you do a good job, but if you have it and it was done even 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it likely didn't account for the disposition of your digital assets.
Right, of course.
So that's something that estate planning attorneys are adding to people's estate plans today to help you know who's going to take over responsibility for social media accounts or any other digital service provider. So an important update to make or something to consider as you're doing your planning.
Very wise. And then does it help to have a financial planner? Does that?
We know that it helps people feel more confident. The 59% of the baby boomers who we surveyed said they're working with a financial professional. And when they do, that person helps them have these conversations with their family in a way that looks at it all together. And in fact, interestingly, about a quarter of the people we surveyed said they're sharing the same financial advisor across family members.
Interesting.
And that really helps make sure there's an objective professional who understands the big picture.
Right.
And can make a plan that really works together for everybody.
All right, Marcy Keckler, thank you so much for all that great advice we can all use. We all have families, right? So we all need an estate plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.